Now, still in the same properties screen associated with the connection, I want to go back here to the General tab where we can take a look at this checkbox here titled Use Remote Differential Compression. You can think of RDC as kind of a different version of WinZip, I guess, for lack of a better term. RDC is a tool that facilitates compressing files before they end up getting transferred off to the other side of the replication connection. And effectively, when you turn on RDC, you trade CPU power in exchange for the amount of bandwidth required to get that file transferred across. So if you're finding yourself constrained by CPU, you may want to actually remove this checkbox if you've got plenty of bandwidth. Note that this RDC is not the same RDC that you would install as a Windows Server feature. If I come down here to our server manager and attempt to add and remove a role or feature, I just want to show you that here in the features view, there actually is a separate feature here called remote differential compression. This version of RDC is not the same as what is being used by DFSR. And so when you do make this configuration, this essentially, again, lets you trade that CPU use in exchange for bandwidth. But in order for a file to qualify for remote differential compression, that file has to be of at least a certain size, which by default is greater than 64K. Now, in order to make this configuration, I just want to show you just some of the settings that we can adjust here. Let me run a PowerShell prompt so that we can take a look at one of the PowerShell commands you can make use of for adjusting this 64K minimum size threshold for RDC. The command I want to show you here is a get DFSR connection. And then when we take a look at that, let's do FL star so that we can see all of the different characteristics associated with this particular connection. And it's down here where you can see both the RDC enabled right here and then the cross-file RDC enabled as well. Down here on the bottom is where you can adjust the minimum RDC file size in kilobytes. These three settings you can reconfigure here using PowerShell with the set DFSR connection commandlet. And this is a commandlet I would use to, for example, disable RDC or to disable cross-file RDC. Or more specifically, if I wanted to perhaps increase the minimum file size for the use of RDC, I could do so as well. Doing so would simply increase the file size, the minimum file size that's necessary for RDC compression to then be used before transferring it over the network.